Keys to the Commonwealth, a podcast where we share the real stories of local community members who are using real estate to build personal wealth, along with tips and tricks from professionals across the industry. And now, your host, Landry Fields.
Welcome, everyone, to the Keys to the Commonwealth podcast. As an insurance advisor, I work with real estate investors and professionals every day, and I'm very excited for today's guest. We are going to take a little bit of a different topic and tackle that is of interest for sure of me, and I know others in the area. He is a part-time real estate investor. However, he acquired his real estate license in 2002 and was full-time in the real estate world until 2012 before switching his full-time focus to the nonprofit sector, if I could say that word, where he currently is a development director with the Lexington Leadership Foundation, which does some great work in the communities here in Lexington. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely check out Lexington Leadership Foundation. Born and raised right in Louisville, Kentucky, just down the road, he received his degree from the University of Kentucky and is married to his beautiful bride, Enid, for 22 years, and together they have three awesome kids, Megan, Emily, and Julia. I am pleased to welcome Damon Mazza today to the Keys of the Commonwealth studio. Damon, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
I appreciate it. So as we kind of do on every episode of the podcast here, what got top back in the door and kind of tell me, how did you get into real estate to begin with? Obviously, you had a career in real estate for a little bit. I guess, did you pull out and then kind of got back in? Could walk me a little through that.
Yeah, so I'm a little old school. My dad was in sales for a number of years, and I had just decided that I wanted to kind of follow his footsteps a little bit. So when I was in college, I took kind of the long way to graduate in college. Some people are called doctors with the number of years I went to. But I remember as I was nearing the end of college, real estate was an attractive thing to me, and I actually answered an ad in the paper for an internship with Rector Hayden Realtors, which is at the time was the number one real estate company in Lexington. Okay. And so I went and interviewed, and I ended up working as an intern for three realtors named Candy, Cookie, and Kitty. Yeah, when I went home and I told my wife, my new bride at the time, that's was my new career choice. There was some interesting conversations after that. But shortly after that internship, I got my real estate license. I guess it was around 2002 or so. Okay. And then worked full-time in real estate for about 10 years before, as you said earlier, switching to the nonprofit sector.
Yeah. So what, as far as the transition, owning short-term rental properties and stuff like that, obviously that's vastly different than a lot of other aspects, a lot more to it in some respects, but you have some unique opportunities that you kind of, I don't know if stumbled upon is the right word, but definitely followed some footpaths and some guidance to get some rental properties there in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg areas, which are obviously very close. Most people here have definitely grown up, if they grew up in the area, going there or retreating there to a cabin. So talk to me about that as far as the opportunities that you were able to get into there.
Yeah, I'll back up just real quick. My wife and I bought our first rental property on UK's campus in 2005, I guess. Okay. And it was a just great cash flowing property, all students, that kind of thing. And that kind of gave us a preview of what owning property might look like. Just kind of stuck it in there for a while, just with a single unit before kind of planning to do stuff more long-term. And with that, probably about 3 years ago, we had an opportunity to go to Pigeon Forge, stayed with some friends at their cabin they had owned, and they were doing this short-term rental market, and it kind of opened our eyes to what that might look like for us. And so we crunched the numbers with them, looked at what it might look like for us, and kind of started that path. And we start off by buying a unit in a development in Pigeon Forge. If people are familiar, about 10 minutes from the strip down there, the outlet malls and crazy restaurants and stuff. So that was our first entry into it. And now about 6 months later, we bought a second one, actually built that one. So
Interesting. Yeah, we'll definitely explore that more for sure. Because obviously the unique thing, in some ways, Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg was kind of the OG of, Airbnb and that kind of a scenario. I mean, it was always there growing up. You didn't have the idea of using the Airbnb platform or Vrbo platform, but obviously there was rental companies, and that was definitely a big thing and baked into the market already to begin with that right there. So, it's definitely, and you can speak to this here. It seems like I think I saw a thing where the market there. Yes, the prices have kind of risen for sure, but the amount of visitors still continues to grow year in, year out there, it seems like, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So, like I said, 2.5 years ago we bought, and really the market kind of took off. It was right before COVID. Mm-hmm. And, when COVID hit, we weren't sure what the rental market would look like there, where people were going to keep coming to the cabins. We had about a month or two where there was all the bookings had kind of canceled, but what we found was people were willing to do the short-term stuff. Airbnbs were very popular, I think, at the time, and especially these cabins. People were wanting to get away, but weren't necessarily wanting to spend time in a hotel room, perhaps. Right. So our cabins rented really, really well during the kind of the heart of the pandemic over the last 2 years. They've done really well at keeping rents high and keeping them full.
Your first property, back to that real quick. How'd you land that deal, finance that deal? What was kind of the story behind that and getting that originally? Do you still have that property?
Yeah, we still have it. It's been great. Interesting story. We like I said, we kind of ran the numbers, knew it was something for us. The way that we were going to be able to finance this was through an equity loan on our house, and that nest egg became our down payment for that unit. We went down, and like the market here is in Lexington, things don't last. There's 10 buyers for every house, and so it was kind of like that with the cabins down there. So we would do our search on the different websites, and they would always be gone before we could get there. So
even pre-COVID?
Even pre-COVID, they were very hot commodities, these cabins. So we found one. And we basically left town that day and were calling realtors on the way down there to try to figure out somebody that could show us this cabin. And so we got there, liked it, everything made sense, and we wrote the offer in the cabin itself that we had scheduled to see 3 different properties, but the cabin made sense. And we wrote the offer and had a deal done before we left the cabin. So it was all done within an hour of seeing it. And, we wrote a check for the deposit. Yeah.
So now, obviously, post-COVID, that has gotten even worse because I tried to dip my toe into it personally a little bit, and that might still be an option. But I know pretty much everything down there is in a lot of ways right now, as far as existing cabins going for pretty much cash. And usually there's, I don't know how many offers on that. So a little bit different story back pre-COVID for sure.
Absolutely. The cabins they're even harder to get now. The values have increased. Our cabin that we bought in August of 2019 has almost doubled in value. It's a real blessing on that side of, at least on paper, it's a real blessing. And so the rents have stayed well. And I guess for our second cabin, it was a totally different situation, and we actually built that cabin. And so I guess it was December of 2020, not long ago, we had found the builder who actually built our first cabin. We didn't buy it from him. We bought it through another party. Okay. But we liked the construction of it. Everything really checked out. So we contacted him, and he had some lots that were available in the same development that we had our first one. So we wrote a contract with him, entered that contract, and it was great because this builder was very experienced. He'd built, something like 150 cabins in the area, so he knew the market really well, and he actually carried the financing for us. So we
is that unique to him, or is that how some of them? A lot of them work down there.
I think because of the numbers that you're talking about, it is unique. But he didn't have a whole lot of desire to work with banks and do draws and have other people control his money. So he was able to finance it on his own and carry all that. The kind of the downside about that is you don't have a whole lot of leverage. when a bank gives you draws and everything, then you can control a little bit more because they want their money. And so the leverage side, so it took a little longer to get it done. Some of that was weather and supply chain kind of hit that market as well.
To the supply chain side of things, I mean, are normally when you're entering those contracts because I definitely see them popping up down there as far as new build cabins, you got to wait obviously for it to be built, but I mean, typically an agreed upon price for the most part that stays that way even with the changes and
it
stuff?
Did with us. Okay. And again, I think there were probably there's some other experienced people that'd be good to consult on that, but for us, our builder stayed true. We had some increases in materials that were needed. It's in the mountains, so the lot is steep, and it took almost 3 months just to do the foundation. We're on the radio here, but the angle is probably a 35% angle.
Some of those.
So it was the pitch on it. It was pretty incredible. It was.
It is really incredible to see where they build these things and how how much. When you speak to a foundation, I mean, we're talking about a foundation that a lot of times can be like multiple stories tall just to get to the level of foundation to start building the cabin. Yeah,
it's about from the base of the foundation to the ground level. It's about 3 stories up. Yeah. So just to get to the first level.
I don't even know how that's possible. Like I want to go and kind of watch and see even how that's done.
It's pretty incredible. Supply chain stuff, we talk about that, but really labor was the other big shortage. It's just a difficult time during COVID. Our builder told us he was using about 20% of the labor force that he really needed.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually, he could build stuff faster, but he just can't get the labor.
Back to that first cabin how'd you finance that one? Was it a vacation, second home kind of 10% thing? Or and was it financing done locally there in Tennessee, or did you do that more or less here as far as the difference from investing out of state?
Yeah, I would have preferred to work with a lender here in Lexington. Had trouble finding somebody that I could meet with in person and do that. So I found financing in, I think they're out of Knoxville, which is only about 45 minutes from the area. Yeah. But most of it was just, done online and done over the phone. It was definitely a few more hoops to jump through because it was the distance. Our portfolio isn't really large. Sure. So, we put down 20% worth of equity into the property. Okay. And then got a conventional 30-year loan on the property after that. So it was as a second home property.
As a second home property,
like a vacation home property. So
pulling back 10% back out of that when you did that kind of thing, or
no, we left the money in there. And I should say we did refinance about a year into it and pull some money out. So definitely.
Because obviously they're in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Sevierville areas. The unique thing about buying cabins down there, and maybe you can talk to this, and it's kind of they're very different than a lot of other places because it really is a true vacation spot. Kind of like a beach area or something like that. Is that financing wise? Okay, here's the cabin, here's the price, but you're also usually getting a turnkey, for the most part, cabin that's already fully furnished in a lot of respects. So. Anything about that, or kind of uniqueness about that, and how does that work on a new build? Is there? I've seen sometimes maybe there's a certain amount of money that's promised towards that or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little tricky on the fully furnished because, as you all know, lenders don't like to count that as in the value of the home for appraisal and different things because it's not. Supposed to come with the contract, but ours did come fully furnished. Our first one that we bought, and it wasn't a problem. Everything was in there, no problem. Our second one that we actually built, there are really 2 companies down in Pigeon Forge that do all the outfitting of these cabins. So you literally walk.
Thus, they all look the exact same.
They look the exact same, but. That's kind of what you want. You want to, from a marketing standpoint, you want to be able to present that idea of that you're in the mountains. There's a bear walking down the street, all that good stuff. People want that experience, and they know the products to buy that last. That don't get torn up by renters and that are going to be durable fabrics, all that good stuff. So There's 2 companies down there that outfit it. You basically walk in and say, this is the square footage, these are the number of rooms. And we spent an hour, I think, in the furniture store and had, $60,000 worth of furniture picked out.
This for the new cabin?
Yes, for the new one. Yeah. And they got it all. And they install it. They hang the pictures. They put all the...
Oh, wow.
We're talking everything from silverware to coffee pots to couches, really? Okay. Pictures on the walls. They did the bedding, the quilts, that kind of thing.
That's
Comforters.
interesting.
Yeah, they do it all.
Because that's a good point. Because in some senses, short-term rental. Obviously that's what we're talking about here, but it definitely can vary in how you were to outfit it or whatnot based upon the area. Meaning, obviously, like a beach area or like Gatlinburg area, there's a sense of like people expect a certain thing. They don't expect it to necessarily be this super modern, unique place, have this unique draw to it. They just want a view, and the expectation is, the bunk beds made out of like hewn logs practically, or the bears or something like that, versus, an Airbnb that's like more of a city, or it's not a true vacation place. Then you need to outfit that and make it more stand out more for sure, type of thing.
Right. And down there is a lot of competition for the renter. So there are a ton of these cabins out there. And so you want to make it as universal as possible for anyone to be comfortable there. So if you have a view, that's great, but how close is it to the Parkway to be able to get to shopping? How close is it to Gatlinburg to be able to get to the Smokies?
Yeah.
These are all very modern. So they have that cabin feel, but one of our cabins has 7 TVs in it. So it's like it's kind of crazy. It's not something I would enjoy in my home, but for the experience that you're going for, just like if you're going to a beach, you want to have all the beach gear, that kind of thing. So you want to be able to enjoy it. And really, these oftentimes the typical renter for these cabins are a grandparent and their kids, or 2 or 3 brothers and sisters and all their kids. And so our 2 cabins have indoor pools in them. And so they're 10 by 18 or so. So they're not big, but they're fun to splash around and that kind of stuff. So,
and they definitely probably have a bit more draw. And what I get to there is, I was definitely told when kind of looking at different options down there and so forth, that you kind of need to, there's kind of like a checklist, and you need to have at least 2 or 3 of these checklists, which is more like, view, hot tub or pool, as you noted there, or location type of thing, and so forth. And I forget the 4th one, but usually that's what you got to kind of have, at least some of those boxes checked.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
is location probably one of the biggest factors, that or view, I would assume?
I put location at the top. Now, when we were first investigating this, I would have thought, you have to have that view of the autumn leaves and all that, and be up in the mountains and no one else around. That's what I would enjoy if I was there. But from the marketing standpoint, what our management company was telling us and what we were finding from other experienced short-term cabin rental folks was that people want proximity. In Pigeon Forge, they want proximity to the main drag there, the strip, the shopping, the restaurants, all that kind of stuff. So our 2 cabins are in the same development, and they're about a 10-minute drive from the strip. So it's easy access to that. But it's only about 20 minutes or so to the entrance of the Smokies, so it's not too bad either.
To that point, I guess, so you guys don't self-manage the cabins, I assume. So you're kind of working with the management company down there. Was that more just to be hands-off, to take, responsibility off your plate? Or talk to me about the upsides, downsides, whatnot of that.
Yeah, so pretty much every one of these cabins are managed by an external person. And it is, first of all, we're 3.5 hours away from it. So we can't really do a ton of work. We need somebody for the bedding and all the incidentals. Most of the companies that down there do all the marketing. They find you the renters. They find you people to rent it. They have portals that you go into, and you can tell who's renting it and when, for how long, and there are variable rates, just like you would. Holidays are more expensive, that type of thing. But finding a good rental company, and there are a ton of them out there, is probably the most crucial part of this investment because while they do well, if you get a bad company that either doesn't take care of maintenance or doesn't take care of problems, then it can be a nightmare.
Well, I mean, we just recently had a huge snowstorm down there not too long ago, and I can only imagine the chaos that kind of presented for, the management companies, that if it just been self-managed, it's probably much harder in that scenario. Now, as far as that goes, I mean, typically what are you looking at as far as an average rate of commission or, that you're kind of paying for management companies and so forth?
Sure. I've seen it as low as 15% for a company, and I've seen it as high as 30. Okay. We're kind of in the middle there of what we pay. You can get a discount by owning multiple units. Okay. There are some companies that will offer you a guaranteed gross commission, and
really,
and it's a little bit, if you say it's too good to be true, kind of thing. So I'd watch out for any of those things that seem too good to be true. There's a lot of startup management companies where a couple of people will leave one place and are trying to attract clients. Sure. And so you need to worry about, how are they going to take care of your investment?
Maybe they know what they're doing, but do they have all the pieces in place to properly?
Correct. And they might be able to do it for 3 months, but you don't want to lose income in the long run. So
what's one of the craziest things you've seen or happened, or biggest challenges you didn't foresee, as far as the rental cabins there?
So again, ours both have indoor pools, and I've had my learning curve on humidity and moisture has been huge with these because they have to have individual HVAC units, dehumidifiers, that type of thing to maximize it. I've walked into a cabin where the ceiling had fallen into a pool because there was too much. It was out of balance, and the moisture had gotten up into the ceiling, and the drywall had fallen into the pool. So I guess the craziest thing I've seen is I was probably about 2 weeks from that in one of my units. It was a down period of rental, and I had gotten some kind of notice that the AC unit wasn't working properly. And so I walk in, and it was in the winter, and so the cold air had mixed with the steam from and the humidity, and it basically looked like a sauna in there.
Oh my!
Yeah, so that is something to monitor. The pool units will get you more renters. The downside of that is some of your bills will be higher.
Okay.
I've also been in the neighborhood when I've seen a bear walking down the street. That was interesting. Typically they're just looking for the trash. So all the units have these massive bear cages for your trash cans.
I actually had one client that called me, and we had to do a comp claim on his car because I think kids had left a door cracked on his car, and there are kids' snacks everywhere, and the bear crawled in and clawed up the inside of the car looking for food. So.
I believe it.
Oh man. So, I mean, we're going to switch gears here a little bit on some respects here, but any professional or personal goals that you're kind of working on in this new year?
Well, I have a number of goals, just kind of my day job that I'm doing, and to serve people in Lexington. But, really, for some, COVID's been great. You've been able to stay with your personal fitness stuff. I've kind of gone downhill during COVID with personal fitness stuff. So my goals are really about getting back on track on it physically.
I was never big on personal fitness, and finally in COVID, I was the one that kind of actually started doing something. I bought a row machine. I'd never rowed in my life, and I was like, my wife was like, "You're never going to use that thing," and I was like, "Well, I'm just going to commit," and so I just bought it, and I was like, "You can sit there and do strength building and cardio, and I can watch a TV show or something at the same time." I was like, "Yeah, let's do that." Yeah. So I've been sticking with it. I'm pretty proud of myself in that respect.
That's good. Yeah.
And as a father, it's like if you're not active in something, then it's definitely probably going downhill.
Yeah, my kids. I've got a 16-year-old that is diligent at her personal fitness and stuff. So she drags me to the gym.
There you go.
Kind of puts me to shame.
There you go. Anything you're all watching on TV that's good right now?
Yeah, so I've got a daughter that's really into the Marvel universe, and so we watch. I guess it's Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all that. I also saw Cobra Kai and got me nostalgic about 80s movies.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. If you guys are going on date night, where are you all going here? The area.
Well, my wife loves Chinese food, so we end up at P.F. Chang's a lot. And anytime we can get that food, I love good barbecue, so if I can hit that in the summertime.
What's your favorite barbecue place here?
Oh gosh, really the barbecue. I'm gonna put a plug out there for a friend of mine that does it. The guy I work with, David Cozart. He owns a business called Smoke Daddies, and he makes some of the best. That's the best barbecue in town.
Is that a location or is it catered?
No, it's kind of catered, special events, that type of thing. But other than that, Blue Door is good. Yeah. But a lot of good barbecue out there.
What was your first car you owned?
1987 Ford Ranger long bed.
Do you still have it, or wish you had it?
No, it was a terrible vehicle.
There we go.
The favorite car I ever had was the one right after that, which was a 1988 Nissan Pathfinder. Yeah. It was a manual shift. I loved that vehicle.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, any passing thoughts, or if anybody wanted to reach out to you to kind of have any interest in the Gatlinburg area or whatnot, or just to connect with you? I mean,
you're welcome to contact me anytime. My email is my name, Damon Mazza, Mazza @gmail.com. You're welcome to call me on my phone, 859-447-4607. I'm happy to talk over whether it's these short-term rentals, cabins, whatever you need. I'm happy to help.
Or even more about the Lexington Leadership Foundation, which is doing a lot of good work in and around the city. So, Damon, thanks so much for your time today, and appreciate you coming to join us here on the show. As always, thanks for listening. Subscribe to the podcast if you love it. Give us a thumbs up. We look forward to having everyone join us next week on another awesome episode of the Keys to the Commonwealth podcast. Damon, thanks again.
Absolutely, thanks.
To learn more about this podcast, visit our page at keystothecommonwealth.com. To connect with Landry regarding insuring your investment portfolio, email Landry at novainsuranceGroup.com or call 859-687-2004.